You're listening to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by. On the morning shift.
Anything
could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
And good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh. I'm glad to be here with you. I'm thankful that you're with us. We're live on CKLU 96.7 FM. We're also streaming at cklu.ca. You just click on the Radio Player Canada app and you can download us and listen to us. Oh, yeah, sorry. You can click on the Radio Player Canada app and you can stream us. But if you download it, you can take us with you and listen to us anytime, anywhere, on any device. And so, yeah, we're also glad to be on Facebook.com/Sudbury News, YouTube.com/Sudbury News, where you can like, share, subscribe, follow, all those things, which we really appreciate that you do, because it's showing on Facebook anyways that most of the people that are on the show, like a good 25 people that are consistently on the show each and every day, aren't following. So, and I noticed that lately Facebook has been just taking off followers. Not sure why. I don't understand. It might be because once you get to 10,000 people, you're monetized. Maybe that's possibly a reason for it. I don't understand. I don't know. I shouldn't even be on Facebook anymore because technically I'm news. Or at least covering news, sorry, and talking about it with all y'all. So I don't understand why we're even still here, but it is what it is. So life goes on. We have the show, Sudbury News Talk. It's your conversation on your station, CKLU 96.7, each and every morning, weekday morning between 7:30 and 8:30. That's if there's no particular technical difficulty that's going on at the time, or a particular family emergency that I have. Currently, we have all kinds of things that are going on here that we are dealing with, and so we continue to just plow through and do the show whenever we can. It is volunteer run. It's not here to make any money. It doesn't make any money. It does cost money, however, and just like the radio station itself, relies on people to contribute or donate. And so we appreciate all those who have done that. And you know who you are. So thank you very much. We're grateful for you. And we cover news, weather, sports, local. We also deep dive into some subjects that probably affect most people. So even if you're not from Sudbury and you're checking in on the show, or Sudbury, Ontario, Canada, that is, we know some people from the UK see the name Sudbury and think, oh, okay, Sudbury, in Britain, but no, it's in Ontario. There's a Sudbury in Massachusetts as well. So we know we've had a few people coming on thinking it might be from that as well. But no, we are in Ontario. But again, the things we're talking about could very well be some things that are of interest to you as well, because we do talk about world events as well. Like today, interesting enough, the events going on in the Middle East will, and you can guarantee, affect most people in the world as it escalates, and we don't see any particular solution anytime soon there. So there's things going on like that. But anyways, we're going to be talking about Sudbury today, some weather, a little bit of on the Sudbury Wolves. The Five wrapped up their regular season yesterday. And then we'll talk about traffic lights, not traffic lights, but maybe traffic lights. But the photo radar cameras that we have that automatically give us speeding tickets. Some of them have gone missing. Different people are either dressing them up by putting bags over them, or spray painting the lens. taking baseball bats to some of them, and now some of them are even missing. So we'll talk a little bit about that, why they're so unpopular here in the city. Ottawa has at least 1 million of them. No, I'm just exaggerating. They have lots of them. But we'll have a little video from the Moose on the Loose concerning that. Someone issued a ticket falsely and had to basically give up a lot of time and money just to fight it in court when it was known that it was a falsely given ticket. He stopped at a light, he turned right, and the camera flagged him for going through the red light. And, almost a $400 ticket later, called in and they said, yeah, we see what happened, but you're going to have to go fight it in court. You got to go through those 3 options on the back of the ticket, just like you would if you committed the offense, traffic offense. So, is that going to be happening here? Are people like, we don't have time for stuff like this. And what are the reasons for them anyways? Like, we've been trying to get to the bottom of this. We don't have any measurement. We don't have any safety statistics to begin with to see if indeed these traffic cameras are for our safety. There's no way to gauge it because we're not beginning with any data. We're not beginning with, okay, well, there's been 2 deaths in the last 2 years and these months, or, this many accidents causing this much money and damages, or these many pedestrians hurt, due to people speeding. We're not beginning with anything like that to say that after, these cameras have been there to show, it's safer now. Because if you're saying it's for reasons of safety, you need to begin with data that proves that, it's unsafe to begin with. And now we're making it safer. And because we put the cameras in, it's 30% safer because look how dangerous it was in the first place. We're not doing that. So people are skeptical. And at the end of the day, all we can do is this many traffic tickets were issued and this is how much money we made, which then makes people even more skeptical because we're like, you're just out to make money off of people. And then you go, no, that's not true. Well, you can't go about it this way. You have to start with statistics. If you're saying it's for safety, you have to show how unsafe it is first, and then that's why. And you can't just say, because we know speed is wrong and it's unsafe. You can't just say that, even if it's true, even if that was true, you still have to give statistics to back that up. And then when you run the experiment, then you show, look, see, we were right. We really helped safety because we cut the numbers down of incidents that led to unsafe conditions. Anyways, so let's dive into that a little bit later on after local weather, a little bit of a sports update, and headlines from here. And we'll also dive into how Danielle Smith, who I really appreciate as a communicator and someone who's fundamentally principled in actual principles that deal with governing the way that Canadians would want to be governed by law, by the charter, by the way things have been set up in the country that took years and years and years to kind of work on to better the country. Looking at those things and saying, look, let's put everything right the way that it should be. Let's let provinces deal with what provinces are supposed to. Let's let municipalities deal with what municipalities are supposed to be dealing with, and let the federal government do what they're supposed to be doing and stay in your lane, basically. So there's a really great Moose on the Loose also. So we have 2 videos from Moose on the Loose. I never knew about this guy until a couple weeks ago. One of our viewers shared the video about the traffic cameras in Ottawa, and now he's popping up all over the place. But anyways, so grateful to have him sharing a few things on the show today. So let's dive right in with your Sudbury weather. We'll be back right after this. It's going to be a great show, so stay tuned. And your Sudbury weather is as usual, is brought to you by SudburyWeather.ca. Currently, it's 1 degree out there. It's mostly cloudy. And today we can expect a mix of sun and cloud, 30% chance of showers this afternoon. We have fog patches this morning. They'll be dissipating. Wind will be up to 50 kilometers per hour, so a little bit windy. High of 13 today. And then tonight, yes, it will be 13 degrees, even though it's a mix of sun and cloud. Tonight, clear, like it was last night too. Do you remember yesterday? This happened the other day as well. So cloudy all day. They weren't real clouds, by the way. We have so many shows on geoengineering that we're going to continue to do those. But anyways, they were just kind of weather modification induced, if you will, clouds. And to prove the point, basically, as soon as the sun went down, they were gone. And it was clear skies last night. This happens quite often. They're just there during the day, and then at night they're clear. So similar here, mix of sun and cloud all day, and then tonight clear. Tuesday, increasing cloudiness, surprise, surprise, in the morning, which exactly when you want it there. Because it's there to block the sun. Scientists, certain scientists, funded largely by Bill Gates. You know that guy. You know the guy, the Microsoft guy who now is a scientist and a health expert who's got lots of money, who's influencing all kinds of things. Well, he wants to change the weather, so putting a lot of money into this program that you don't know hardly anything about because it's not publicized, which it's the air you're breathing. It's the chemicals they're putting into the clouds above your head each and every day that you're breathing in stuff, but you don't know about it, which is pretty telling to the world we live in, about the world we live in at the moment. But we'll continue to have more on that. If you're like, what the heck are you talking about? You just continue listening to the show, and we'll continue to educate as much as we can. So Tuesday, increasing cloudiness in the morning, wind up to 15 kilometers, high of 11, wind chill -6 in the morning, and a look at your long range. So a high of 11 on Tuesday, mix of sun and cloud, periods of rain on Wednesday, high of 10, 60% chance of showers on Thursday, high of 12, 30% chance of showers on Friday and Saturday, and high of 7 on Friday. High of 9 on Saturday, but they also say there might be a few flurries on Saturday. And then back to showers, 30% chance on Sunday. But when you got a 30% chance, that means there's a 70% chance that there won't be. Then you look at your satellite. This is from this morning at 4:30, just a big strip of cloud running from just north of Thunder Bay all the way through Timmins and Sudbury and North Bay towards Ottawa. Pretty much clear other than that. And that's your Sudbury weather, brought to you by SudburyWeather.ca. Back with a little sports update on Sudbury Wolves in 5. Then we'll dive into local headlines, your comments, and a deep dive into traffic cameras, all the good, the bad, and the ugly when we return right after this. Stay tuned. And your Sudbury Wolves will be in action on Tuesday here in Sudbury for Game 3 of the playoff series they have against North Bay, Round 2. They have lost the first 2 games, and the headline from Sudbury.com is the Wolves dig themselves into a 2-0 hole in playoff series with the Troops, the North Bay Battalion. The Sudbury Wolves once again in North Bay for Game 2 of Round 2 of the Ontario Hockey League playoffs against North Bay Battalion on Saturday night, hoping to tie the series 1-1 after losing Game 1 a couple nights prior. Despite the Pack's best laid plans, though, it was all North Bay from start to finish in Game 2, which is correct. The goaltending matchup was the same as the first game. Marcus Vandenberg in net for Sudbury Wolves, and North Bay had Mike McIver. Less than 30 seconds into the game, the battalion gave themselves a 1-0 lead with goals from Sandis Valmanis and his second of the playoffs with 5 minutes and 46 seconds remaining of the first period. Jacob Terrien scored his goal his second goal of the playoffs to give North Bay a 2-0 lead after the first period. They ended up winning the game 5-1, taking a 2-0 lead in that series. And now Sudbury has to dig themselves out of that, and the game goes ahead next game tomorrow night, right here in Sudbury. Make sure to get your tickets if there's any left. And, we have yet to win a second round playoff game, and I don't know how long. It's phenomenal. Maybe by tomorrow I'll have that stat for you. When the first time we won one game of a round 2 in the playoffs, it's been a long time. So we're hoping that magic will happen tomorrow, and we can, it's a must win. If we lose that game, we're down 3-0 in the series. Good luck with that. If we win, 2-1's not too bad. And the next game, you win, you tie it up. So this is a crucial must-win game for the Sudbury Wolves. Go Wolves, go tomorrow night right here in Sudbury, 7:05 puck drop. The Sudbury 5 turning to basketball now, basically wrapped up their regular season. 2 games against the Los Angeles Ignite and coming out victorious in both of those games in Sudbury. I'm not sure. Home games, that is. They wrapped up the regular season home games here against Los Angeles. So they basically won the last game 109-90. And the game previous to that, let's see here, it was 112-102. So that was Saturday and Sunday, Sudbury 5. It says here that they're on the road against the Newfoundland Rogues on Thursday and then also on Saturday. And that's pretty much Tuesday. So it's not the easiest website to navigate here. So Thursday, April 18th, Saturday, April the 20th, and then also Sunday, April the 21st. And then off to Kansas City, I did it again, Kitchener-Waterloo, and then Windsor for Saturday, the next weekend, 27th and 28th. And then that will do it for the season. So those are their 2 last home games here in town. And that's your Sudbury Sports, brought to you by SudburySports.ca. And we'll be back with news headlines, your comments, and much more right after this. Stay tuned. That's interesting. Okay, so let's get this going here. Oh my goodness. All right, so my my mouse is it just dropped and now it's not working too well. So it is what it is. We will get through the show today. We just have to click 15 times on a slide here. But we have a bunch of people joining us. It looks like we got a good bunch on so far this morning. Just want to give a few shout outs to those that are on. And I'm sure we have a few regulars. Waiting for it to load. There we go. And first to the Facebook party, we have Judy. Good morning, Judy. Thanks for being with us. Monique. Good morning, Sudbury, with a smiley emoji. Good morning, Vin. Or morning. And thanks for sharing that you have the 705 Smelts Facebook page and that you've been doing very well. Like there's been a lot of people following and liking the page, and it seems like it's a pretty cool idea to have. Everyone's wondering about Smelts, where they're running and when they stop running. And so that's a really great idea to have locally. So congrats on that. Marianne, good morning, everyone from Grey Berry. And liked and shared as usual. And Belinda, speaking of as usual, always has a positive statement in the morning. Good morning. Everything humanity has ever wanted lies, on the other hand, side of fear. Everything humanity has ever wanted lies, on the other hand, side of fear. Keep pursuing justice because we can all be the David that takes down this Goliath. Okay, sorry for my reading of that if I botched it, but I really get the gist of what you're saying. And I love just the David and Goliath reference. seems like it's sometimes the story of my life, and it is true. You can do a lot with a little if you have purpose and meaning in your life. I just wanted to say thank you to the people that are taking down the equipment from China that's one step towards being an independent country. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That's Denise. And I think you're talking about the equipment, the traffic camera equipment that just looks like a little robot on the side of the road kind of thing, a little box. I think that's what you're referring to. And there's a lot of people that would applaud what you're applauding as well out there. That is ridiculous, and they wonder why people are getting upset. There is word circulating on social media that Klaus Schwab is sick in the hospital. Win-win. Keep your fingers crossed. I did not know. For those that don't know who Klaus Schwab is, he's the leader of what was known as the Bilderberg Group for many, many years. They used to meet secretly, all the leaders, billionaires of the world, and a lot of leaders, political leaders, would all meet secretly to discuss how they're going to run the world, and then publicly they would say a different thing. So now it just meets publicly as what's called the World Economic Forum, and they do it out in the open, and they have conferences in Switzerland, and they discuss publicly that they've infiltrated most of Trudeau's cabinet, or they have these ideas for you to eat bugs and you'll own nothing and be happy and all these things. If you haven't looked into it, it's pretty entertaining, and it won't disappoint. The World Economic Forum, and Klaus Schwab is their leader. So I was under the impression courts were already backed up for months and even years. Yeah, no, I think they are, but this speeding ticket thing is going to clog them up even more. Good morning, Jerome. Thanks for being with us. And Debbie as well. Smiley emoji. And this is about enslavement, not safety. How much money can they keep sucking out of us? Which is true. Like I don't have any. I don't know about you guys. I don't have any extra money. Oh, I was coming on Dominion Drive the other day and I took a right turn, and I don't know if I stopped long enough. Like I stopped and then went, but I don't know if I stopped long enough for the camera that's at the lights, on Dominion Drive there on the main drag. And I was like, oh no, I could get a ticket, a $400 ticket for not stopping long enough at that stoplight. And I'm like, that's craziness. Traffic is coming, and I'm seeing, okay, I got to get into here, and I just stop, I go, but I was like, did I really stop for enough seconds for this camera to realize I stopped? Or was it a rolling stop? Or what? Why would a $400 ticket for a rolling stop? How much more safe is a complete stop than a rolling stop? Let's get the science on that first of all. Like, really, honestly? Is there science? Is there numbers released on rolling stops being more unsafe than an actual stop at a stop sign? You know what I'm saying? Like, if it's all for safety, which that's what it's supposed to be, and not just for money, I don't know. It's crazy. I don't have any extra money anymore. Prince Charles helped finance the WEF with him in the very beginning. Research it. Interesting. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that at all. We know that definitely would fall in line with things that we've seen in the past. Marianne, have you noticed all those who bought into this are either sick now or ending up in hospital? Okay, you're probably talking about the solution we had to the problem for the last 4 years. May 24th is almost here. We want to see how they force stuff. Okay, interesting. That was Denise. And Marianne says exactly, people really need to wake up. Vin, the funny thing about courts being backed up for years, the innocent have already forfeited a time of thought, being introduced to undesired stress and anxiety of the unknown consequences, basically a premature feeling of guilt. So yeah, if you're waiting to get your day in court, I could see that. Sheila, good morning to you. Thanks for being with us. Marianne, exactly. Modified weather goes back to the 1800s, and that is true. And we're going through a lot of it right now. Between DARPA and AI, they will use their robots and learn about DEW. There you go, everybody. So you're hearing all kinds of things on this show, probably for the first time from a lot of our listeners and viewers. So I would encourage everyone to look up these things. DEW, look that up. Marianne, yes, weather modifications have patents. Yeah, if you look into that. And we've shared a lot on this show about these things. We know that the opening ceremonies of the China Games, and whenever that was, a few years ago, they publicly said that they made sure it was sunny with weather modification for those ceremonies. That's, again, just scratching the surface. It's there and been there for years, and it's just not that mainstream because the chemicals they use for it are dangerous to breathe. And a lot of people are going to suffer for that, and they don't want to be held accountable and blah, blah, blah. But it's for your good because it's going to cool down the earth. It's getting too warm, right? So don't worry about it. They know everything, and they have your back somehow. Denise, and I forgot about the police are having a force on citizens meeting on how to use force against the people. Great times, isn't it? Okay, so the police are having a force on citizens meeting and how to use force against people. Oh, interesting. I did not know that. Well, another thing to look into. Well, there was a leaked document, right, from the RCMP, or was it CSIS, saying that if Canadians really realized the state of our country would be in financially, that there would be an uprising, which I would agree with as well, if we did find out about how bad we were financially. Liette, good morning from Collingwood. Good morning, Sheila. In war times, what are they doing in the skies? It was called biological warfare. Exactly. A lot of things doing, spraying things in the skies during war. Maurice, good morning. Thanks for being with us. Denise, responding to someone there, so we'll just let that be. So by the way, the Jews in the East are starting to migrate, and I'm sure Canada will be a place they come. Okay, wasn't sure about that. Wonder how many realize Google is just an extension of CBC now. Canadian Google results don't match that of other countries and are paying $100 million to the federal government to restrict your knowledge. How convenient for Trudeau. Okay, yes, we do see a media thing going on these days. And I'm just going to get to somebody's comments here. Denise says her girlfriend in Cape Town, South Africa, who I think we've seen on the show, the big anomaly going on around Facebook is a lie. Cool. With the way that our government is saying Facebook, blah, 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 is, needs to be paying our local journalists and our journalists, and all it does is it stops news from being shared. So if a government was really a government that was concerned about freedom of press and things like that, they would be very concerned that people cannot share news anymore. And all the facts point to this particular government anyways doesn't like independent media and being asked real questions. And it seems like the results are you can't share news, and news is being canceled, basically. And reporters are losing their jobs, even though they were getting money from the government, millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars to keep their jobs. So something's up there, right? Okay, just going to get people's comments up. And good morning to those that are joining us this morning. Good morning, Nancy. Thanks for being with us. Good morning, Mike. Thanks for being on. Much appreciated. And get some of our comments continued to come up as we are now going to start diving into some of our stories today. We appreciate being on. Miles, good morning. I'm sure there's more than Klaus Schwab to push their agenda. That's true. One leader goes, and then another one will take their place, right? For sure. They know that can happen. And good morning from Cape Real. That's Shirley. Thanks for joining us, Shirley. There's so many comments here. I just want to check. Oh my goodness. Really appreciate all you guys weighing in this morning. Much appreciated. And so speaking of, stopping media, it looks like Village Media, who are the owners of Sudbury.com, they started in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario with one publication there and then started growing. They're pretty big now. They're in the United States and Canada, Village Media. They have dozens and dozens and dozens of outlets that they own, and one of them are Sudbury.com. So they say they've been working on a solution to not being able to share news on Facebook, and it's called Spaces. And they say it's years in the making. So I don't know why it was years in the making if there was Facebook already. Maybe they knew something we didn't. Years in the making, Spaces is designed to be a safe, civil, and 100% community-powered social network. Jeff Elgie, the CEO of Village Media, spoke in a podcast about it, their own podcast. And good morning, Pat. Thanks for being on. Much appreciated. So yeah, it was years in the making. So did they know that Facebook and Google and whatever would be mandated to do what they're doing now? And was we see with Facebook, there's no more news being shared on Facebook, right? So they have a new social media platform that they are launching called Spaces. And it's going to be safe and civil. So you don't have to worry about people not agreeing with you, I guess. I guess people will be taken off if they don't agree with the news. I can only see that is the only reason why they would say it's safe, because today words are unsafe, right? If you don't agree with somebody, they say that's unsafe because it might hurt somebody's feelings. And so I'm just speculating that that's what they mean by that. We'll look into more on that as time goes on. I'm actually hoping that we're able to, get Facebook back on board. I think a change in government, in the federal government, would bring people back to the table, and we'd then find that you could share news again. Because I don't think if the opposition, the official opposition, becomes the government, I don't think they're going to be as afraid of media as our current government is, right? Of being asked questions. I don't get that sense. And the people that think that's perfectly fine, that this government stops news from being shared on social media platforms, and basically has, paying off all of our journalists and organizations that produce news. If you think that's fine, and you like the government that's in now, and they're basically spot on with all your ideals, imagine if the opposition gets in. So imagine if a conservative government got in, and now they have the reins of all these things. Like, do you think that's right? Would you like to hear 100% conservative news day in, day out, and that's all you get on CBC and CTV and Global and all of these news stations? Just that's all you heard was just conservative points of view. Like, if you agree with that, that's what's possible by having this particular setup, because whoever's in government can influence the news, and it shouldn't be the case. Like, there's so many news stories I don't hear on our state-funded media that I know it's not real journalism, because there's real stories out there that they're not covering. Now, I'm not talking about local stories. Local stories are different. Like our local people that we have here in CBC, it's not a jab against them whatsoever. But when the national news comes on, or the provincial news, and they're telling us what's going on, they're not talking about a lot of stuff, that's in the news that I get from independent media that's not paid off by the government. And it's not only being paid off, it's that all of the journalists that are doing the reporting are basically of one political side. They are biased, and you hear it in their reporting. And again, like I was just saying on a few other shows, it would be really great to do a survey of all of the people that work at any of these outlets and ask them who they voted for last election, And I would be hard pressed to think that they would find even one person that voted conservative, which I don't care who you vote for. But if you're a news organization and you only have people that are from one political leaning and they're the ones doing all the news, it's going to be bias. And it just is. And I don't mind bias as long as I can hear the other side too, which we don't. So if you're going to have you're going to have bias and you're going to have one side, at least get the other side in there as well. Like that's the least you can do. But they don't. And it is what it is. Okay, so let's look at some of the stories here on our Sudbury.news Facebook aggregator. You can find that at Sudbury.news online. So mine rescuers in Ontario are preparing for annual competition. That's coming from Sudbury.com. Heavy rain caused flooding in several northern Ontario communities. Remember the rain we just got recently? That's from CBC. CTV is covering the housing crisis. Is the solution in the forest? Kapuskasing Mayor David Pleward is telling Ottawa that the solution in Canada's housing crisis is in the forest. Obviously, wood makes houses, but I don't know if they really, okay, so that's just going to be my opinion. We're not really after solutions here. Common sense, just, wood makes houses, let's build houses. It would be that simple. The province this is CBC as well. The province proposed housing policies won't work in Northern Ontario, say local leaders. Those involved in housing in North Bay and Sudbury say the policies are designed to address the issues that slow down development in Southern Ontario and will not achieve the same results in the province's north. So there you go. So housing. They're not able to come up with any solutions on how to address the housing. Sudbury.com, stories to start your day. Basically, Flour Mill Drop-In Center has neighbors concerned and fearful. An April 8th Flour Mill Community Action Network meeting over neighborhood concerns about the Drop-In Center for people who are homeless or experiencing homelessness highlights the ongoing challenges of the city's homelessness and drug addiction crises. The meeting was an opportunity for residents and business owners near the Sudbury Centre for Transitional Care, the SCTC, located on Notre Dame Avenue and King Street, to air their concerns about the centre, its clients, and what residents see as the impact it is having on their neighborhood. Excuse me. The SCTC Drop-In Center opened in 2021 and recently partnered with the City of Greater Sudbury to extend its hours in the wake of the closure of 2 harm reduction services, including the Sudbury Action Center for Youth and the SPOT Supervised Consumption Site, both of which closed in March. The SCTC contract with the city is valued at $75,000 and runs until April 30th. So yes, we do have a housing crisis in Sudbury. We have a homelessness crisis. Wonder if they're linked, obviously. We also have a substance abuse crisis in Sudbury. And if you're watching from anywhere outside this city, does that sound familiar to you? Is your particular place you're living experiencing a housing crisis, homelessness crisis, opioid crisis, right? So it's not just Sudbury centric. It's a lot of people in our world experiencing that, but something Sudbury's been doing to help this was put in speed cameras to give tickets to those that are speeding, even going 5 over the speed limit. So we have speed cameras that are going in 6 locations right now. They've started, and we've had some of the cameras themselves that are in this box that just sits on the ground damaged, or otherwise, people putting bags over it, spraying the lens, just different things to it. And now some of them are even going missing. Now, City of Greater Sudbury Police say that's not their responsibility to look after these things, which makes one question, well, why is that? Why don't police have anything to do with these cameras, you think police, you think speeding, you think, okay, well, there must be some connection. And if some of these are being vandalized or they're being stolen or whatever, you'd think police would be able to come in and look at these things. But for some reason, they say that it's not their jurisdiction, which is kind of odd. It just lends one to think, what are the legalities behind these speed cameras and how does that work? But either way, here's something that's come out of Ottawa recently, and we might be seeing in our city sometime soon with these cameras. So here's an incident of a particular person ran into when they were falsely given a ticket, but how it impacted their life. And this comes from Moose on the Loose.
Keeping the streets safe or a cash grab. That's what we're talking about today, with Ottawa installing tons of new traffic cameras over the past 2 or so 3 years. They've been bringing in around $1 million per month on traffic tickets, and some of these are false tickets. Let's jump into this.
Some say it's a cash grab. For other drivers, it's actually changed their behavior behind the wheel. And love them or hate them, the number of speed enforcement cameras in the capital set to double. This speed enforcement camera on Saint Laurent Boulevard near Queen Elizabeth Public School was the busiest in Ottawa last year.
Well, I think it's ridiculous. People need to slow down.
It issued more than 26,000 tickets to drivers going above the 50-kilometer-an-hour speed limit.
I know people are complaining that it's just a money grab, but if you're not speeding, obviously you don't have to worry about paying it. So slow down, drive more carefully.
So you can see here they handed out 80,000 tickets, almost 81,000 in 2021, 127,000 tickets in 2022, and 220,000. Now this works out to be around $9 million for 2022 and $13 or $14 million for 2023. That's like $1 million per month that they're bringing in on this.
51 in a 40 zone, and surprise, there it was in the mail. I think it's a good thing. It prompts people to slow down.
Last year, 28 cameras were in operation in Ottawa. By the end of 2024, that number will more than double to 60. The cameras are in community safety zones set up near schools.
If it's 40 kilometers or 50 kilometers, I find that sometimes kind of hard to maintain. But otherwise, I mean, if we're speeding.
Now, what we're talking about here today is not so much just giving out tickets for people speeding, because obviously people shouldn't be speeding in a playground or school zone and all that kind of thing. It's the fact that these cameras are giving out false tickets to people turning right on red lights. So
you also got to love to see TV reporting. They only show people saying, yeah, it's terrible, but you shouldn't do it anyways. Like, they don't show anybody saying, I hate these things and it should be illegal. It's wrong. It's all wrong on so many levels, but they don't have anybody they're interviewing that say that. They say, yeah, it's not good, but you shouldn't be speeding anyways. That's all the people they interview. So it shows the bias even in the reporting here.
We take a look at this map here of Ottawa. Here's all of their traffic cameras. Look at them. They're everywhere. Like, how far does this go? It's crazy. Especially when you get downtown here. They're just on every intersection corner practically. You can click on any of these too, and it shows you exactly what it looks like. So we've got a video here from TikTok of a guy who came up to an intersection, stopped, turned right on a red light, and he still got a ticket. And you're not going to believe what happened when he called in about this false ticket.
So here's a ticket I got in the mail, a traffic camera ticket. Here's the whole thing. It says that I approached the stop line. It had a red signal for 5.8 seconds. All right. And then when the light had been red for 7.6 seconds, I then proceeded through the intersection. Okay. So how long was I stopped at the red light? About 2 seconds, right? So it said, I went to the red light. The light had already been red for 5.8 seconds. I waited 2 seconds and then I went through the intersection. Okay. Sounds like I ran the red light, but hold on. Did I go through the intersection with the red light, or did I turn right on the red light after stopping for 2 seconds to make sure that it was okay? So I didn't do a rolling stop. It specifically said I was there for 1.8 seconds, but I turned right. I didn't go straight through.
So what we've got here is a guy who stopped for 1.8 seconds at a red light, checked it was clear, made a right turn, which he's legally allowed to do. Everything there is legal.
And I gave him my infraction number. He's like, hold on, I'll look it up. So he looks it up, and I explain. I go, look, it says I went through the red light. You can clearly see that I turned right. I didn't turn right and then come back. I'm like, he's like, yeah, I see that. I'm like, so obviously these traffic cameras have made a mistake and charged me with a $325 fine. He's like, yeah, it looks like this was a mistake. I'm like, all right, so can you cancel it out? No. Okay, well, is there a form I can fill out? No. Okay, do you have a manager I can talk to? No. Okay, so what do I do now? He goes, you have 3 options. Option 1 is you pay it. I'm like, James, have you been involved in this conversation? I'm not paying it. I didn't do it. He's like, yeah, no, I get that. You didn't do it. I'm like, okay, so maybe let's dive into options 2 and 3. He goes, option 2 is you plead not guilty and you go to court. And I go, option 3? He's like, you plead guilty, but you try to get like the fine reduced and da-da-da-da.
This is outrageous. So this guy, his only options are to waste his day going to court to fight a ticket for a broken system in Ottawa's traffic cameras. This is just government 101 here, just wasting people's time, energy, and money. He should just call in, they should cancel the ticket and be done with it. But it just happens, it seems to happen in every government, myself included. A year ago, I hit a pothole, a giant pothole that's on the street here because they dug big trench lines across the road to move power lines under the ground to set up some new developments. Or there's an empty lot that they're going to build like 4 houses on. And the city did a terrible job of filling that back in, and it washed out. And it was nighttime. I didn't see the pothole. I hadn't driven that way in a couple weeks, and it just had eroded. And it was like a really deep pothole. And I hit it, I dented my rim, and now my rim in my vehicle doesn't hold air in the tire. So I contacted the city. I'm like, yo, you guys need to pay for this. I said, I've already gone ahead and I bought 2 rusty old rims for my Honda CRV, and I put them on the front axle. Basically, I've got alloy rims, and you can't mix alloy and steel rims. So I bought 2 steel rims, used ones from a junkyard to deal with this. Really, the city should just paid the $400 for the alloy rim and the $100 or whatever to reset the tire and been done with it. They should have given me $500, but instead I spent $126, got 2 rusty old rims, and just got it done. And I asked them to reimburse me. And I'm now over a year and a month now fighting with these guys with the insurance. They will not give me my money back. These scumbags will not give me my money back. And it just seems like this in every single case. In the case of Ottawa here, and this guy in the traffic camera, he's got to spend all day going to court, or he pays $325 for a fraudulent traffic camera. Like, I'm at a point now where I think Canadians are going to just stop paying taxes. They're going to stop paying these fees. They're going to stop paying these fines, because when you've got a scumbag like Trudeau and all his den of thieves breaking the law, he's just setting an example. Why would anyone follow the law? And I think Canada is going to slowly start slipping into, it's going to be, turn into a country like Somalia. I mean, we're already got the immigration rate is higher. The amount of population increase is already getting up that point. Our social services and systems are breaking down. Canada's falling into a third world slide here. And if it keeps pushing to a point where people just, there's rampant corruption. I'm not paying taxes. I'm not paying for this. I'm not going to pay parking fees. I'm not going to pay any sort of anything because everything's corrupt. That's the road we're sliding down here. So the government needs to be careful what they do here with all these fraudulent tickets, fraudulent crap that's going on in the government, all this corruption. You're setting a bad example here, and you can't have it both ways. You can't have your cake and eat it too.
It's true. Confidence from people in their government is huge to have a law-abiding country that's stable. There's indexes and things that look after things like that. And we're going down on those indexes because of what Moose on the Loose just mentioned, right? So some more from Moose on the Loose, talking about a little bit what was behind that. If it's the first time you heard that the Trudeau government, some people feel that it's very corrupt, and you're like, what? I've never heard anything like that before. I thought everything was great. Well, here's a little bit more on why possibly people would feel like that. And Moose on the Loose also had covering Daniel Smith talking about some of these things. And she makes some really good points about how the federal government is dipping into the province and dipping into municipalities when they really have no need to do that. And they always have strings attached with their money. But the money comes from us in the first place. It goes to them. They're supposed to just give it back to us, but they only give it back to us with strings attached, which is, yeah, here you go.
Justin Trudeau has said his job is boring. Well, I'll suggest that's because he doesn't actually know what his job is, and therefore he isn't doing it. So if I ran through the full list of things that are in federal jurisdiction that they are not doing, we'd be here all afternoon. Well, hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us here today. I'm pleased to be here with Rick McIver, our Minister of Municipal Affairs, to announce new measures to defend our provincial jurisdiction. For years now, even though the Liberal government in Ottawa has had the barest of representation in our province, they've been imposing their destructive agenda on Alberta taxpayers. We see this as Alberta Liberals enacting policies that will devastate our province's economy. We see this when they fail to provide Alberta with our fair share of per capita program funding. And we see this when they actively work around us to sign funding agreements with municipalities and provincially regulated and funded organizations that run counter to Alberta's interests and priorities. Section 92 of the Constitution states that municipalities fall within the exclusive jurisdiction of the provinces. The terms could not be more clear or more certain. And yet, as we've come to see far too often, the federal government extends itself too far and interferes in our provincial jurisdiction. And we aren't the only province to see this and be troubled by it. So today, this is no longer just talk in Alberta. Today, we are taking back more of our jurisdictional control and telling Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and his cabinet that they cannot make deals without our express approval. And this afternoon, I'm pleased to table the Provincial Priorities Act to do just that. Albertans are uninterested in the virtue signaling from Ottawa and the related strings that come with this. We are interested in our fair share of federal funding to move forward with our priorities on roads, on infrastructure, and on housing. Now, let's be clear, when we talk about federal funding, we mean money that comes from Canadian taxpayers. For much of our recent history, Albertans have paid far more in federal taxes than we get back in federal programs and transfers. Even during the last economic downturn, one of the worst in our history, we were still the largest net contributor to federal finances. And yet we consistently receive less than our provincial neighbours in per capita funding. And when we do receive funding, those federal dollars come with ideological strings attached, offering funding on its own terms, bypassing the provinces, and forcing municipalities to dance to Ottawa's tune, like funding for so-called safe supply, or electric buses that don't work, or solar and wind projects when we need reliable baseload power, or what we're seeing with the games being played over the housing accelerator funds. But at the end of the day, I think I know what's happening. Justin Trudeau has said his job is boring. Well, I'll suggest that's because he doesn't actually know what his job is, and therefore he isn't doing it. Because if he were doing his job, he wouldn't have enough time to meddle in my ability to do my job and the ability of other premiers to do their jobs. So here is a partial list of the things he and his government are not doing that they could and should do instead of interfering in provincial matters. He should get rid of the consumer carbon tax.
Yeah.
He should fund on-reserve housing and healthcare. He should close the gap in funding for on-reserve addiction treatment for First Nations. He should provide per capita funding for housing and road infrastructure. He should collaborate to build strong economic corridors. He should develop an aggressive plan on international trade to get our natural resources to market, including a strategy to transport hydrogen and ammonia for export. He should bring in the clean energy investment tax credit that he has promised, including for carbon capture utilization and storage. He should address public safety concerns resulting from their lenient bail system. He should manage federal finances, deficits, and debt in order to combat the inflation that is squeezing every Canadian today. So if I ran through the full list of things that are in federal jurisdiction that they are not doing, we'd be here all afternoon. But these examples clearly show that Ottawa is neglecting its own responsibilities while meddling needlessly in ours. Albertans don't want federal funding to show the world how virtuous we are or to polish Canada's halo internationally. We want our provincial share of per capita federal funding for roads, for infrastructure, and for housing. Projects that will make a real difference for Albertans. The way we see it, federal and provincial funding should be spent collaboratively, not at cross purposes. And it should be spent on Alberta's priorities and not on Ottawa's, because after all, a lot of that money came from hardworking Alberta taxpayers in the first place.
So there you have it. Danielle Smith from Alberta. She is the... Oh, I knew
Shalom,
that.
everyone. This is Anil Tsofati.
Yeah, if I don't get the next... if I don't get the video quick enough, then it comes on. anyways, so that was Daniel Smith talking about the situation with, how it works with federal money and provinces and municipalities, and just basically setting the record straight. Love, loathe Daniel Smith, regardless, the way that the country is being run, the way a province is being run, these people are running them. And I think I agree with what she said in that particular caption, is stay in your lane, do the things you're supposed to do. It's pretty clear money comes from Canadians, then gets collected by the federal government, and it's supposed to be reallocated fairly to the provinces for their needs. And it's very clear who's responsible for federal things, who's responsible in the provinces for what, and municipalities as well. Now, this particular government we have right now are changing all of that, and changing it quickly, and changing it without any apologies or anything like that. Everything's changing, and they're all about change, right? They're super progressive. So I guess that's what they're supposed to be doing, and there's many people who put them in office to do that. So that's what we're getting. Now, once you do that, then you start to have chaos, because there's nothing that's time tested that they're doing, and it's basically like they're running an experiment on your country, and you're the guinea pigs. So financially, that's not good. So whatever Daniel Smith just said there, I agree with wholeheartedly. Stay in your lane, do your job. Don't try to do other people's jobs for them. But we all know that there's an agenda behind the reason, and that's the reason for the strings attached. And they are ideological strings, because we have an ideological prime minister, which, as a tactic, then blames the other side that they're ideological, just because that's a tactic that you do with your opponent, is you blame them for the very thing you're doing before they can do it. And it's tit for tat. It's tactics, it's politics, it's messy. It's at least, we can try to make some sense of these things. So I appreciate your time this morning. That's all we have time for on the show. And we'll be back, God willing, same time, same place tomorrow. So check us out then as well. Stay tuned now for Earshot Daily on CKLU 96.7 FM. So have a safe Monday, everyone, beginning to your work week, and we'll see you tomorrow. Ciao.